a shadow across the stars. The sky bled crimson. Jagged remnants of storm clouds reflected the dying light. A chilling wind howled through the skeletal remains of cities, carrying the metallic tang of blood and the acrid stench of fear. Overhead, the alien ships hung like vultures, their obsidian hulls reflecting the ravaged landscape below. They had come in silence, blotting out the sun, raining fire upon an unsuspecting world. Now, they waited. Humanity had not surrendered easily. A desperate, last-ditch effort had driven the invaders back, trapping them within a designated area. A scar upon the face of the earth, quarantined and avoided, the forbidden zone. But the victory felt hollow, the cost too high. The scars of invasion ran deep, a constant reminder of the day the stars themselves had turned hostile. The forbidden zone, a barbed wire fence stretched across the horizon, a stark boundary between the known and the unknown. Beyond it lay a wasteland, twisted and corrupted by alien technology. The earth itself seemed to writhe, scarred and poisoned. The air hung heavy with an unnatural stillness, broken only by the mournful sigh of the wind. This was the prison of the Spectres, as the aliens had come to be known. Within this desolate landscape, the remnants of the invasion festered. Wrecked ships, their once sleek forms twisted and broken, lay scattered like fallen giants. Strange, luminescent plants sprouted from the scorched earth, their beauty masking a deadly toxicity. The Forbidden Zone was a graveyard of a lost future, a constant reminder of the enemy held at bay. Guardians at the gate. In a world where the line between survival and annihilation is razor-thin, these sentinels stand as the last bastion of hope. Sergeant John Riley adjusted his helmet, the weight of responsibility pressing down on him like a physical force. The visor reflecting his hardened gaze, a mirror to the countless battles he had fought and the sacrifices he had made. He stood atop a watchtower, a solitary figure against the backdrop of a dark, dystopian landscape. His hand resting on the grip of his pulse rifle, a weapon designed for one purpose: to protect humanity from the alien threat that loomed ever closer. Below him, the soldiers of the 507th patrolled the perimeter, their movements precise and disciplined, their faces grim beneath their helmets, each one a testament to the resolve and determination that defined them. They were the Guardians, the thin line that separated humanity from the alien menace. Riley scanned the horizon, his eyes sharp and unyielding, his eyes searching for any sign of movement. The silence was unnerving, a stark contrast to the chaos that often erupted without warning. The Spectres rarely ventured near the fence, their presence a constant, unseen threat, but their stillness held a menace of its own, a silent promise of the devastation they could unleash. It was as if they were waiting, watching, biding their time until the perfect moment to strike. The thought sent a shiver down Riley's spine, a cold reminder of the ever-present danger. He had seen what the Spectres could do, the horrors they could inflict on the unprepared and the unsuspecting. He knew the horrors that lurked within the zone, a place where nightmares became reality. Their orders were simple: observe and report. But simplicity did not equate to safety. No engagement unless fired upon. A rule that was both a safeguard and a curse, for it meant they could only react, never preempt. But the true nature of their mission remained shrouded in secrecy, a veil that even the highest-ranking officers could not pierce. The official report spoke of containment, of studying the enemy. But those words were cold comfort to the men and women on the front lines. But Riley had been here long enough to know that some truths were best left buried. He had seen the classified files, the reports that never made it to the public eye. He knew that the Spectres were not just an enemy, they were a force of nature, an unstoppable tide that could only be held back, never defeated. As he stood there, he thought of his family, of the life he had left behind. The memories were a source of strength, but also a painful reminder of what was at stake. He kept a journal, a record of his thoughts and experiences. It was a way to stay sane, to hold on to a piece of himself in the midst of the chaos. He also took it upon himself to train the new recruits, to prepare them for the harsh realities they would face. He knew that knowledge and preparation were their best weapons against the unknown. Maintenance of their equipment was another crucial task. A malfunctioning weapon or a faulty piece of gear could mean the difference between life and death. Despite the constant threat, there were moments of camaraderie, brief respites where they could share a meal and a laugh. These moments were precious, a reminder of their humanity. As the night wore on, Riley remained vigilant, his senses attuned to the slightest sound or movement. The darkness was both an ally and an enemy, concealing them from the Spectres but also hiding potential threats. With the first light of dawn, a sense of hope would return. Another night survived, another day to fight. The battle was far from over, but as long as they stood their ground, there was hope. They were the Guardians at the gate, the last line of defense. And as long as they stood, humanity had a chance. Riley knew that the road ahead would be long and fraught with danger, But he also knew that they were ready. They had to be. For the sake of everyone they loved, for the future of humanity, they would stand firm. They would be the guardians at the gate. Whispers in the dark. Rumors spread through the ranks like wildfire. The zone was a place of mystery and fear, a place where the unknown lurked in every shadow. It was said that those who ventured too far into its depths never returned the same, if they returned at all. Whispers of strange lights in the night, of inhuman screams echoing from the heart of the zone. These tales were passed from one soldier to another, growing more elaborate with each retelling. Some spoke of ghostly apparitions, others of monstrous creatures that defied description. Soldiers spoke of nightmares, of feeling watched, hunted. They shared stories of waking up in a cold sweat, convinced that something was lurking just beyond the edge of their vision. The fear was palpable, a constant companion in the darkness. Some even claimed to have seen shadowy figures moving in the periphery of their vision, gone as quickly as they appeared. These fleeting glimpses only added to the sense of unease, making it difficult to distinguish between reality and imagination. Riley dismissed these stories as the product of fear and isolation. He was a man of reason, a soldier who believed in facts and evidence. Yet even he couldn't entirely shake the feeling that something was amiss. The mind could play cruel tricks in this desolate place. The isolation, the darkness, the constant threat of danger, it was enough to drive anyone to the brink of madness. Riley knew this, and he tried to keep his mind focused on the mission at hand. But deep down, a seed of doubt lingered. He couldn't ignore the stories entirely, nor could he dismiss the strange occurrences that seemed to be happening with increasing frequency. He had experienced the unsettling stillness of the zone, the feeling of unseen eyes upon him. It was a sensation that was hard to describe, a prickling at the back of his neck that made his skin crawl. And lately he had noticed an increase in patrol reports. More and more soldiers were reporting strange sightings, unexplained phenomena that couldn't be easily dismissed. Disturbances in the energy readings, unexplained phenomena. The data was there, clear as day, and it was becoming harder to ignore. One night, a frantic transmission crackled over the comms. The voice on the other end was filled with terror, speaking of things that defied logic and reason. A patrol had gone missing near Sector 4. The area was notorious for strange occurrences, and now it seemed that something had finally happened. Their last message spoke of a blinding light, then silence. It was as if they had been swallowed by the darkness, leaving no trace behind. Riley felt a chill run down his spine. The stories, the sightings, the missing patrol, it was all starting to add up to something he couldn't ignore. He knew what he had to do. He couldn't sit by and let fear take over. He had to face whatever was out there to find the truth behind the whispers in the dark. Gathering a small squad, he prepared to enter the zone. Each member was handpicked for their skills and bravery, ready to face the unknown. He was about to face the nightmares that haunted the darkness. With every step, the weight of the unknown pressed down on him, but he moved forward, determined to uncover the truth. The abyss stares back. The air grew heavy as Riley's squad ventured deeper into the zone. Each step they took seemed to pull them further into an oppressive darkness, a place where the very air felt thick with foreboding. The zone was a place of nightmares, a desolate wasteland where the rules of reality seemed to bend and twist. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the crunch of their boots on the scorched earth. Every sound seemed amplified in the stillness, echoing off the charred remnants of what once was. The ground beneath them was a testament to the devastation that had swept through this place, leaving nothing but ash and ruin in its wake. Twisted metal skeletons of buildings loomed on either side, casting long, grotesque shadows in the pale moonlight. These structures, once teeming with life, now stood as silent sentinels, guarding the secrets of the zone. The moonlight gave the ruins an eerie glow, highlighting the jagged edges and twisted forms that seemed almost alive in the darkness. The air itself seemed to vibrate with an unseen energy, sending shivers down their spines. It was as if the very fabric of reality was being stretched and distorted, creating an atmosphere of palpable tension. The soldiers could feel it in their bones, a deep, unsettling sensation that made their skin crawl. Following the missing patrol's last known coordinates, they arrived at a massive crater-like structure. The sight of it was both awe-inspiring and terrifying, a gaping wound in the earth that seemed to pulse with a life of its own. The edges of the crater were jagged and uneven, as if the ground had been violently torn apart. It pulsed with an eerie green light emanating from a gaping maw in its center. The light was unnatural, casting an otherworldly glow that seemed to defy the darkness around it. It was as if the crater was a portal to another dimension, a place where the laws of physics no longer applied. Cautiously, they approached, their weapons drawn. Every step was taken with the utmost care, their senses on high alert for any sign of danger. The closer they got, the more they could feel the energy emanating from the crater, a pulsating force that seemed to draw them in. The stench of ozone and something else, something alien and putrid, hit their nostrils. It was a smell unlike anything they had ever encountered, a sickly sweet odor that made their stomachs churn. The air was thick with it, making it difficult to breathe as they moved closer to the source. "What is this place?" whispered Corporal Lee, his voice tight with apprehension. His eyes darted around, searching for any sign of movement in the shadows. The fear in his voice was palpable, a reflection of the unease that gripped the entire squad. Riley shook his head, his gut churning with a growing sense of dread. He had no answers, only a deep, gnawing fear that something terrible awaited them. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders, knowing that the lives of his men depended on his decisions. He didn't know, but something felt terribly wrong. The air was thick with tension, and every instinct screamed at him to turn back. But they had a mission to complete, and turning back was not an option. They had to find the missing patrol, no matter the cost. He motioned for the squad to fan out, their eyes scanning for any sign of the missing patrol or worse. Each soldier moved with practiced precision, their training kicking in as they navigated the treacherous terrain. The darkness seemed to close in around them, making it difficult to see more than a few feet ahead. As they moved closer to the gaping maw, the ground trembled beneath their feet. It was a subtle vibration at first, barely noticeable, but it quickly grew in intensity. The earth seemed to pulse in time with the eerie green light, creating a disorienting effect that made it difficult to keep their balance. A low, guttural growl echoed from within the depths. It was a sound that seemed to come from the very bowels of the earth, a deep, resonant noise that sent chills down their spines. The growl was followed by a series of strange, otherworldly noises, as if the crater was alive with unseen creatures. The abyss was about to reveal its secrets. The soldiers could feel it, a sense of impending doom that hung heavy in the air. Whatever lay within the depths of the crater, it was something beyond their understanding, something that defied the very nature of reality. They braced themselves for what was to come, knowing that their lives would never be the same. Thank you for watching Forbidden Zone: The Alien Nightmare That Will Freeze Your Blood. But before you go, there's one final chapter to uncover. Pause 2S, Echoes of the Lost. As Riley's squad ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the oppressive silence was pierced by faint, disembodied whispers. These whispers seemed to come from every direction, as if the very walls of the crater were alive with the voices of the lost. Each whisper carried a sense of despair and longing, a chilling reminder of those who had ventured into the zone and never returned. Private Harris paused, his eyes widening in terror as he caught sight of something in the distance. "Did you hear that?" he whispered, his voice barely audible over the growing cacophony of voices. The squad halted, their eyes scanning the darkness for any sign of movement. The whispers grew louder, more insistent, as if trying to convey a message that lay just beyond their understanding. Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, its form barely discernible in the dim light. It was one of the missing patrol members, but something was terribly wrong. His eyes were vacant, and his movements were jerky, as if he were a puppet being controlled by unseen strings. He stumbled towards the squad, his mouth opening and closing soundlessly, as if trying to speak but unable to form words. Riley stepped forward, his heart pounding in his chest. "Johnson, is that you?" he called out, his voice trembling with a mix of hope and dread. But the figure did not respond, its eyes staring blankly ahead as it continued its slow, mechanical march towards them. The air grew colder still, and the whispers reached a fever pitch, their dissonant tones creating a sense of overwhelming dread. It was as if the very fabric of reality was unraveling around them, and the squad could feel the weight of the zone's malevolent presence pressing down on them. Riley took a step back, his instincts screaming at him to flee, but he knew that they couldn't leave without answers, without understanding the true nature of the zone and the fate of the missing patrol. He motioned for the squad to hold their ground, their weapons at the ready. As the figure drew closer, Riley could see the horror etched into his features, a twisted mask of pain and fear. It was clear that whatever had happened to Johnson, it was something beyond their comprehension, something that defied the very laws of nature. The whispers suddenly ceased, replaced by an eerie silence that was even more unsettling. The figure stopped in its tracks, its vacant eyes locking onto Riley's, and then, in a voice that was not his own, Johnson spoke. "Turn back," he intoned, his voice a hollow, otherworldly echo that sent shivers down their spines. "You do not belong here." The squad stood frozen, their minds racing as they tried to process what was happening. The sense of impending doom was palpable, and they knew that their time was running out. Whatever force controlled the zone, it was ancient and powerful, and it would not allow them to escape easily. With a heavy heart, Riley made the decision to retreat. "Fall back," he ordered, his voice steady despite the fear that gripped him. "We need to regroup and find another way." As they turned to leave, the whispers resumed, their dissonant tones following them as they made their way back through the twisted ruins. The zone had revealed its secrets, and the squad knew that their lives would never be the same. They had glimpsed the true nature of the abyss, and it had stared back with a malevolent gaze. Thank you for watching Forbidden Zone, the alien nightmare that will freeze your blood. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and share it on social media. Your support helps us create more spine-chilling content. Stay tuned for more spine-chilling content.